Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to ITHive.org's Saturday Morning Tech Show, episode 33. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about customers and what we do on our side in relation to customers and what we coach our customers to do on their side and how that works and how it makes success. And right off the bat, I think that there's some fundamentals in the relationship that we always try and achieve. And the first one is trust, right? There has to be trust on both sides. Trust on the side of ITHive.org that, the customer will understand things, pay their bills, all that stuff, the standard things, right? But also the customer, from the customer perspective, the trust element is, we are in a position because we're dealing with technology that if that trust from the customer is not there, right, that's a problem. Because, we need to, we're essentially looking after things for the customer, and that puts us in a position to do a lot of things, right? And so it's very, very important that there's a trusting relationship. And so we do little things. Number one off the bat, right? Always honest and upfront with our customers. If a problem's happened, if we haven't done something quite right or whatever, we're upfront about that, right? That makes that relationship happen. The other thing too is, a lot of our work is done remotely, right? And we have a very, very strong rule in place that we do not access any customer's computers unless we're talking to them on the phone. And, I can think of a few examples where, a customer has set up an appointment and, we call them at that time and we can't get a hold of them. And, I've heard from the customer after, well, I knew you were going to do stuff then, you could have just gone ahead and done it. But, no, we don't. I'm sorry, but that is a rule that will never, ever change. We need to be talking to you as a customer before we do anything. Now, there are some minor exceptions to this, right? There are some computers and systems we manage and deal with that people aren't attached to. They that computer provides a certain role within a business. It's always a business type arrangement where that computer does something for the business and humans don't really touch it or do anything with it. And but having said all that, the owner of the business understands this, right? And even then, they'll know when we're working on it, right? Because still have to have an appointment and whatnot, but the difference is we won't call anybody. We'll just go ahead and do the thing because we know that the owner understands this is happening at this time. We're going to do this work and this is what problem we're going to take care of, or this is what we're going to enhance or whatever. So that's a little bit of the difference there. But definitely on the residential side, yeah, we don't have that situation to date, and I can't ever see it ever happening. So, remote access, talking to the customer. And that's so important, right? Because, we're dealing with personal computers, right? And, people use their technology to do stuff. They, do all kinds of things, banking, all that whatnot. And, their privacy needs to be respected. So that's why that phone call always happens. And you can see that on the website. ITHive.org, there's, I think it's in the support section, there's a little graphic that actually shows how that relationship works and how it goes. So that's very important to establish trust. Now, the other side of it is responsibility, okay? So clearly for us, it's very clear what our responsibility is. Right? When you're a customer of ITHive.org, our responsibility is A, to identify problems and resolve problems. B, to listen to you as the customer to weed out any frustrations and to really understand what the real problems are, and then offer solutions so that that frustration can go away. And also to point out risk, things that the customer might not be understanding or realizing that they have risk. And so we point that out. And encompassed in all of that is education. So those are our responsibilities, right? But this is the other side of this is something that a lot of customers don't understand, but we start by teaching this. Okay. I've done this. I've been in technology work and doing support work for probably 15, 20 years. And we're really, really strong on this idea and this concept. The responsibility from the customer, okay? They have to be part of the solution, always. We aren't going to develop some solution out of the sky and then shove it down the customer's throat. No, we're going to engage with the customer, educate the customer, and find out what they want to do, right? And further than that, right, we want and need and desire to have the customer involved in this, right? Whether you're a business or whether you're a residential customer, you need to be involved in the solution. And this is so important for us to do this, because the thing is that we don't want to have all the keys, right? So whether it's your email account or your website or whatever, right? The thing is that we act as a source to solve problems, right? But if there's other vendors involved, right, we want the customers to understand that relationship and actually have a relationship there as well. And when it comes to passwords, right, our initial intent always is that the customer manages their passwords, right? Now, we'll help them with a password manager and give them education and stuff like that if they want. But we're really about enabling the customer. And I got to speak, so this is important for no matter who you are, right? But on a business side of things, and this is a big failure I see in a lot of businesses, the business owner, right, is not on top of every aspect of their business, right? Kind of just shooting from the hip and, doing every day just, patching and clicking and fixing, and it's just a disaster, right? And I've seen this a lot. And a lot of us business owners in particular, right, technology is really, I think since 1990 really was more of a forefront in business and playing a larger and larger role. So relatively new, okay? But if you're a business owner, right, you have a bookkeeper, an accountant, financial wing, you have human resources, right? And I don't care how big you are or how small you are, those two components, you might have a legal team, right? Or a lawyer that you go to, whatever, right? But you need someone to run your technology. You can't, if you're a business owner and you're doing this, you're making a huge mistake, because chances are you're probably wasting your time, right? And you might not have, it takes time, right? And you need the tools and the setup to make sure that, hey, this problem is taken care of. The other side to that, I have seen and worked with many business owners, and in all cases, they're very, very successful. And this is the kind of mentality that they have. They seek out people they can trust and rely on, and those people move forward and take care of things, communicating with the business owner, dealing with the details. And that is a relationship that we aspire to achieve, right? Because we know that technology support works like that, right? And in some cases, you might have a business owner that, because the business is so big, they can't deal with all the technology decision-making process, and they delegate that to someone else to be the head person. But no matter what happens, we as a company need somebody that works for the company, that is in a position to make decisions, right? To be directly involved with what we do, right? It's so important. If that's not there, it doesn't work. Okay. And, so having said all that, I can think of two examples, right? And we'll talk about it's kind of ironic because the bad news story is a business and the good news story is a residential customer, right? So we'll start with the bad, right? So, I recently had a customer that called me, found me on Google or whatever. I went, spent time, did work, consulted with them, did an assessment, gave them a 2-pager that explained everything about what our business does and what we value and how we approach things, right? So reading material for them, identified several other projects that they needed to deal with and take care of, did all the work that we needed to do on site when we were on site. And there was some follow-up stuff that had to happen after. So I talked to the business owner upon leaving, and I let him know, okay, I'll contact you tomorrow. We'll set up a follow-up meeting, and then we'll, once we have a plan in place, we'll start to move forward with executing this plan and taking care of things, right? I'm sorry, but this organization will never shoot from the hip. When things have to happen, we sit back, understand the problem, come up with a solution, a plan, an approach, and then we move forward and deliver that solution and plan. Does this take time? Yes, it does take time. But this is where I go. It's very important that your technology isn't in a state of crisis, right? And if you are in a state of crisis, right, the worst thing you can do is start in a reactionary mode to react to this, react to that, react to that. I've seen more crises built upon crises with improper management of technology, and you want to stay away from that. So that's a place we start. So back to this customer, right? Followed up with him just like I had said, and this guy's a business owner. I didn't think that anything thought he'd be responsible. Anyway, called, and we talked, and he said, okay, well, I'll text you today when I have some time, and then we can look at this and do that. Not an ideal scenario for us, but I had availability that day, so I thought, okay, well, that's fine. I can work with you. It's a new relationship. Let's do that. Never a single text message came through that whole day. So I'm like, I thought you had a problem. And anyway, okay, well, maybe you're busy, whatever. And I followed up, a couple of days later because I still hadn't heard from him and got no response back. And then, a little bit while back and followed up again, still no response back. And, so this went on and on. And, it's kind of frustrating, right? And, just recently we exchanged some text messages, right? And he's like, well, I don't know why you sent me an invoice because, you didn't really fix the problem. And so I reminded him, I said, we talked about all these things, and I was reaching out to you to set up an appointment and initiate an activity. I can't imagine or determine in my head when somebody's going to be available to do work, right? That's got to be their responsibility. Anyway, so that's where that went. I don't know how you can be a business owner and be irresponsible like that. I don't know how you can be a successful business owner and be irresponsible like that. Anyway, that's regardless. So we're approaching on 15 minutes, and I haven't done the good news side of things. So, so this week, right, I set up a new customer, a referral from one of my businesses, residential, and such a breath of fresh air to do these things. You know, I loved it. You know, the customer was very engaging. He was an older gentleman. Didn't really know technology a lot, but worked with me. We got him set up. You know, he was out west, so not physically accessible directly. So we got him all set up and everything. You know, the poor guy is running a computer. No antivirus software active on the system at all. So, you know, right off the bat, you know, we dealt with 4 viruses, got rid of those things, got them all set up. And, you know, at the end of the day, when we were talking about this actor, you know, the gentleman went from being worried and concerned about doing stuff on the internet to being more confident and secure. And he even said to me, and I actually, we talked about this. I said, you know, now you can use your computer with confidence and not to worry about anything, because if something's going wrong, we're going to know, and we're going to be able to help you and fix the issue, right? And from this point on, it doesn't really have to be an expensive relationship. It just depends what your needs are. And, you know, there's such a breath of fresh air came from that. You know, and you know, I really like that. These are the relationships that are good, you know. And so anyway, you know, more of that coming, please. You know, if you're an existing customer, please refer people, right? You know, and we have a referral program. You can save some money and stuff. Anyway, we've gone over time. I got to go on a road trip, so I can't babble on for too long. So I'm going to cut this short, and we will talk to everyone next Saturday. And as always, if you have questions, comments, anything like that, just post them at the bottom of this video. You know, we'll pop this up on YouTube as well, and then we can discuss things and whatnot. All right, so happy computing. Be safe. Talk to you next week. See y'all later.